Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 734A. And today's date is August 4th, 2015. And the title of this episode is Every Day the Economic Collapse Rears Its Ugly Head. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I have placed the interview with Dr. Duke Pesta on the X22 Report Spotlight channel. You can go right to that channel and view it. If you'd like to come to the x22report.com site, you can come to the x22report.com and you'll see it on the right-hand side. You can click on the video. It will make it larger if you like to view it. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, out in Greece, things are really falling apart. I mean, it is a complete disaster in Greece. Of course, the central bankers, they think this is amazing. But we know the stock market opened, and we see that Greek bank stocks completely crashed. I mean, there are signs of economic disintegration all over the place. We see that Greek companies lose 85% of their value since 2007. Businesses are closing all over the place. People cannot survive. But don't worry. The central bankers, the government, who accepted the deal of the central bankers, say they expect the bailout deal to be done by August 18th. And again, we know this is not going to help the people whatsoever. And what's very interesting is that the people of Greece, they're very upset. First of all, the referendum was absolutely meaningless. The government didn't listen to them. Second of all, austerity is being imposed on them. This does not help the economy, does not help the people with food, rent, income, jobs, medical supplies. It does nothing for them. Basically, there's one Greek person out there, there's many of them, but one of them has said, I just don't care. It doesn't affect my life, not even a tiny little bit. I give neither a whole damn nor half of it for this so-called Greek political agenda after July 13th. He doesn't care about what the government is doing right now. He says, what I do care about is to watch my country and the people falling into pieces. I see our Greek lives suffering another internal devaluation, minute by minute, day by day, week by week. Others, plagued by long-term unemployment and no perspective to get a job or even a pension, felt obliged to sell their home. That's not possible under capital controls. The selling amount will remain in the bank, and it may even fall victim to deposits haircut by the end of the year. Another friend who needs to sell her second flat, an inheritance, so that she has money to live, cannot sell it either, because when they sell it, the money goes into the bank, and guess what? They cannot access it. This is the problem with capital controls. You cannot live. You cannot access your money. He said with the new value-added tax hikes, the amount we need to spend for our weekly basic groceries now are extra 15 to 20 euros. Just 15 euros? It doesn't sound like Doesn't sound like that much? But yeah, that's a huge amount if you don't have it and you have kids to feed and bills to pay. So at this point in time, the people are suffering in Greece. And capital controls, it does not help the people. It keeps them in limbo. They cannot survive. And this is why everyone has to take responsibility to make sure that you're prepared. Because look, one day they were able to access their money, they were able to take it out, they can sell their house, take out the money whenever they need it. Today, it's completely different, and that's with a snap of a finger. I mean, they knew it was coming. They saw what happened in Cyprus. And we know eventually, because all the bail-in documents were created back in 2012, going forward, we know they are prepared and getting ready to do something here, throughout the Eurozone, in Canada, in New Zealand, UK. We understand that. And this is why, at this point in time, people need to stock up on supplies. You need food. You need medicines. You need water. You need weapons to protect yourself. You need cash on hand. You need gold and silver. You need toiletries. You need everything like this. And if you have been stocking up, don't stop. If you've been getting your supplies from the big warehouse companies like Costco, BJ, Sam's, and those places, keep doing it. If you have canned goods and all that, keep stocking up. If you just started, you can go to places like lifereliance.com. They put everything together for you, like food storage, water storage, bug out bags, seeds, first aid kits, whatever you need, it's already done for you. This way you are prepared, you're ready to go. And everyone needs to continually do this. Do not stop. I mean, we see things basically accelerating at this time. We see things moving along. And we see at this point in time, it's not going to slow down at any time. I mean, look at Puerto Rico, for instance. They just defaulted. The Government Development Bank for Puerto Rico, President Melba Acosta Fibo, issued the following statement on the surface of public finance corporation bonds. Due to the lack of appropriate funds for the fiscal year, the entirety of the PFC payment was not made. So basically, Moody's view, Puerto Rico is in default. And this is a commonwealth of the United States of America. You know, the richest, most powerful nation in the world. We had a commonwealth default. I mean, following in the footsteps of Greece. And you think it ends there? Look at our cities in the United States. Look at Detroit. Look at Baltimore. Look at Chicago. They are on the verge of collapsing. And when we look closely at what's going on here, we see the economy is getting worse and worse every single day. I mean, the U.S. consumer spending has declined now. And we talked about this yesterday. Of course, the U.S. government, the central bankers, continually revise the number. They massage it, and they make it look like, no, everything's fine, consumers are still spending. But Gallup did a poll of about 15,217 U.S. adults who were asked to self-report on their daily spending patterns. According to the Gallup data, July was the third month in a row in which the average American spent less than they did in the same month a year ago, confirming that the U.S. economy is heading into a recession, or, if you believe we'd never left the recession, we're heading into a depression. Because what we're seeing here is that retail spending data of the 7 months in 2015, 5 have seen a decline in consumer spending year over year. What does this tell us? This tells us something is wrong here. Because we have to understand that consumer spending is important because it dictates 70% of the direction of U.S. GDP. And with 5 out of 7 months now posting year-on-year declines, one wonders just where is this 2.5% GDP growth going to come from? Think about this for a second. The only way to basically push GDP up is to increase your population by giving birth more. And of course, there's factory output and things like that. Or to bring in illegal aliens, immigration, to increase the population, increase the spending, increase the people who are working. This is how it works right now because we know there is an agenda here. We know this is why they're bringing in the illegals, to pump up the system. I mean, is that really going to pump up the system? No. It's going to give us the illusion that everything is fine. But when we look at factory orders right now, they have plunged for 8 consecutive months. U.S. factory orders fell year on year, down 6.2% in June. This is the longest streak of declining factory orders outside of a recession in history. Much of the month-on-month gain was driven by a 21% rise in defense aircraft shipments. Well, we know we have wars going on everywhere. We know we're shipping war materials. Strip that out, factory orders are about 10 times worse. This is not a robust economy. This economy is completely falling apart. Yes, they're going to keep the illusion alive. Yes, they're going to convince you not to take gold because they continually suppress it. We see this every day. But there's something I want to talk about here. I want to talk about gold. Gold has about a 5,000 year of tradition behind it. And people look at this little short-term graph and say, oh, look, it went down a little bit. Okay, over 5,000 years it's been around. How long has the dollar been around? How long has any of these paper currencies been around? So when people say, oh, I wouldn't buy gold, it's not a good investment. Well, gold is not an investment. Whoever said gold was an investment? Gold is a store of wealth. So when we look at gold, we see countries continually taking it on. China, Russia, other central banks around the world are taking on gold, not the United States. So we understand that China, with this low gold price, is continually purchasing tons and tons of gold. And we all understand when we look at gold over a long period of time that gold basically keeps your wealth. We have to remember why we own gold to begin with. Gold is a very long-term store of value. Paper currencies come and go. They get devalued, revalued, and extinguished altogether. Think about this. How much would you be able to buy today with a paper money issued by the 7th century Tang dynasty? Nothing. It no longer exists. But guess what? Gold was around then. And if you had an ounce of gold, how much could you buy today? How about a pound of sterling from 1817? Very little. It's barely pocket change today. Yet the gold backing up that same pound sterling from 1817 is worth over $250 today. So what are we seeing here? They're trying to convince us with continually suppressing the gold that that is not where you want to be. You want to be in the dollar. Well, actually you want to be in both because we don't know how this is going to play out or how long it's going to play out, and you want to maintain your wealth, and you know gold, silver is the way to do it. Because we know paper currencies come and go. They don't stick around, and they're always reevaluated or dropped completely into something else. And this is why everybody today needs to have some type of precious metal. And people say, oh, I'm not going to do that. Gold continually drops. It's not worth it whatsoever. Well, if I told you today that HD TV was going on sale, it's going to be $100 or $150 less, people will go, really? I better go out and buy it. So you just went out and you bought a depreciating asset that's going to be worth absolutely nothing in the end. If I tell you that gold is on sale today, and it's on sale for, came down in price about $100 and $150, you can look back in time and say, okay, this is something that I should do now because I'm getting in at the bottom level. And I know eventually it's going to go up. And even if it doesn't, and it goes down a little bit, it goes up a little bit, eventually over time, because we're not going to go sell it like the paper gold, it's a store of wealth, you hold on to it for a long period of time, because when that situation comes and we have a collapse, you pull the gold out. Just like when there's a storm and you have a winter storm, all of a sudden you pull out that snowblower, you pull out the shovel. It was just sitting there all the time, but you had it. You were ready. And this is what we are seeing today with the collapse. Listen, the people in Greece, I mean, they knew something was going on. They didn't know when it was going to happen, but they knew the banks were going to be closed down. So what did they do? They started taking their money out of the banks. Some of them even took it and purchased gold and silver. Now, they didn't know when this was going to happen, because we knew when we look back, it was going on for quite a while. But they knew something was coming very soon. And they were prepared. They were ready. And then all of a sudden the banks closed down. All those other people that said, you're crazy, they're never going to close the banks down. I'm going to keep my money in the bank because that's where it's safe. Well, guess what? It's safe inside and the bankers are taking it. Those other people are saying, well, I have mine right here. Plus I have gold. So as the euro, drops in value or we switch to a different currency, I have gold. They were prepared, even though they didn't know when it was going to happen. Now, I speak about Obamacare quite a bit. I am not for Obamacare. I would be if it was truly a health benefit to the people. But when you start adding taxes intertwined into the health care and you have the insurance companies write the bill and then you put a penalty on it saying, if you don't do what we say, we're going to force you into the system or we're going to tax you, I have a problem with it. And I have a problem with health coverage that our government employees didn't want to take because they exempted themselves from it. But we see with Obamacare, we had the first co-op, which failed, and it cost the taxpayers about $140 million. We see there are 6 other co-ops that are in deep financial trouble due to low enrollment and other pressures. Now, the federal officials, they haven't identified which ones they are yet, but I'm sure as soon as they go bust, we will get word which ones they are. They're just letting us know that, yes, we do have problems in the system. We don't have the enrollment, and we're having problems at this point. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.